This figure shows an example for the architect's review stamp. So it recognizes that it is recognized that each architect will have a slightly different stamp and wording. So this is just an example over here. However, it must be noted that most contract documents indicate that the architect's approval of a submittal does not relieve the contractor from meeting all contract requirements. If the submittal varies from the specified product, it must be brought to the architect's attention. If the variance is substantial, a formal substitution request must be required. Okay, so now let's talk about the procurement schedule. The procurement schedule is a schedule of activities for particular products from submittal through delivery to the job site. The contractor will coordinate the submittal schedule with procurement and installation schedule requirements to ensure that the product will be delivered to the job site to coincide with the appropriate installation activity. So many contract forms require that the contractor provide a schedule of submittals to coordinate with the construction schedule. The contractor must discuss the time that is necessary for the approval of submittals with the architect. Some of the factors that apply when determining the necessary time frame for these approvals include the following. The size of the submittal package to be submitted. If a submittal is divided into packages, the approval time would be less per package than it would be for the entire submittal. The complexity of the submittal has a large influence on the review and approval time. The timing of the submittal and mailing time. If all of the project submittals are given to the architect on the same time, on the same date, it would take considerable time to process the submittals. The number of consultants reviewing the submittal will influence the processing time. Occasionally, several consultants will review the submittal, which requires additional time for reviewing, handling, and mailing. And also, some of the architects consultant may live in other geographical areas. Thus, mailing time should be considered in the approval process. The submittal log is used for tracking the actual progress of the submittal. Many contractors use this only for the dates the submittal was received by the appropriate parties. A more complete and useful submittal log would compare the projected dates with the actual dates. So by comparing the actual and scheduled dates in a single form, variances are easily determined. Therefore, the submittal log is used as a documentation to indicate unnecessary delay in the submittal process. So, as the material and fabrications cannot be ordered until the approvals are received, any delay in the submittal process, whether by subcontractor, supplier, contractor, or architect and engineer, whoever is involved, can result in a delay of the delivery of the item to the job site. So this delivery delay also can impact the construction schedule. So this was about the procurement schedule. Now let's talk something about the submittal review by the contractor. Although the submittal process is initiated, or it is actually the intention is for that process to be primarily for architect's review of material and fabrications. The contractor is quite involved in the submittal process. So what does that contractor do then? Contractor reviews submittals for the following: compliance to specifications, dimensional conformance to the construction assembly, interface with other materials and assemblies, avoiding duplication or omissions of elements in the process. The constructability of the assembly, recognizing the steps necessary in constructing the system. So the contractor receives the submittal from the supplier or subcontractor prior to forwarding it to the architect, and is expected to review the submittal and stamp it as having been reviewed prior to submitting it to the architect. So this step is good in fact, because it may reduce the review time by the architect. So if the contractor can review by himself before submitting it to the architect, so the review time from the architect may be reduced. So also the contractor can better provide the field dimensions for openings and items that are installed in instances where other construction elements determine the size of the material. So by reviewing the shop drawings and submittals, the contractor will become aware of the means and methods of installing the construction materials, systems, and assemblies. When installing the material and equipment with their own forces, the contractor will use the submittals to determine the necessary equipment and workforce to construct the assembly. Although the contractor should have determined a plan for installation during the estimating phase, a detailed examination of the procedures is necessary during the construction phase. So the summary of all this the discussion is that the initial planning and the drawings and the specifications are not enough for actual construction. So many changes occur during the construction. So when the actual conditions are revealed on the job site. So that's why there is a lot of emphasis in this topic on the submittals, shop drawings, and other samples such as the material samples, etc. So once the contractor reviews the submittals, the contractor may also use some kind of approval statement in the form of stamps, so such as this example. Okay, so this is the example of a contractor's review stamp. So as a last slide for this topic, let me talk about the use of submittals during construction. So there are several different applications. So the contractor will use submittals at the job site for several different applications. Firstly, the information for preparation of openings, support, adjoining assemblies, and general construction details. Secondly, you can use it as quality control information to assure that the correct product has been supplied. placement diagrams for the installation of material, and the information relating to necessary handling and placement of equipment, and finally as a job site reference for architects and owner. So the information in the product data and the shop drawings provides essential information that is usually beyond that of the contract document. So that's why we discussed this topic, because just the contract documents are not enough. The other documents, as we discussed over here, shop drawings and submittals, are also needed in the actual construction operations. So it is essential that this information is to be kept at the job site. That means the information about the shop drawings and submittals, because these are essentially the practical informations. So nowadays, because due to the digitization of the construction documents, it has become quite convenient to store the information in digital formats on cloud servers or computer hard disks, rather than using the paper-based documents, and this information stored in the racks or cabinets on the job site. So the practices in the construction are changing from manual practices to more digitized based and automated practices. So as a summary, we can say that the submittals of product data, shop drawings and samples in a complete and timely fashion is essential for the smooth execution of the construction contract. Submittals are used for approval for compliance to the contract and for quality control to ensure that the appropriate products are being used in the construction facility. So complete information needs to be shown in the product submittal or shop drawing regarding physical characteristics, finishes and installation details for or restraints. So samples and mock-ups are normally used to ensure that the product and installation will meet these expectations of owners and designers. We also discussed talked about something about the procurement schedule. The procurement schedule is a listing of approval steps, order dates, and delivery dates is required by some contracts and can be helpful in monitoring and managing the submittal process. So the procurement schedule may be used with the submittal process to help in the submittal process. So that's all for this topic.